Hello, it is another day and we have another episode of the Lent podcast for you. Our last full week. It's gone so quickly and I'm really excited today because Dave is going to be telling us all about a parable that's written in the Bible, a story that Jesus told in order for us to understand something better.
Cool. And today is all about gardening or farming, and it's about someone who has some seed and goes out and sows it. So, Shona, what are 3 things that a seed needs in order to grow into a plant? What does a plant need in order to grow?
Water.
Water. You've got to water those plants.
Soil. And
I'll give you a hint. You were talking about it yesterday.
Dave, I talk about a lot of things.
In yesterday's podcast.
Oh. Light.
Light. There we go. So a plant needs light, it needs soil, and it needs water. Today we are thinking about the soil and the kind of soil that a seed gets planted in. And as Jesus tells this story, it's about a farmer who's sowing some seed. But think about it in terms of when we hear the good news about God and what we do with it. It's like the seed is the good news, and we, depending on where we're planted and depending on what kind of soil it gets planted in us, something different is going to happen. So, Shona, take it away.
So this is from Matthew chapter 13, verses 3 to 9. Then he told them many things in parables, saying, "A farmer went out to sow his seed. As he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where it didn't have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched, and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. Still, other seed fell on good soil, where it produced a crop 160, 30 times what was sown. Whoever has ears, let them hear."
Great. I'm going to mix things up a bit today. I'm going to tell you what my question is now and then talk about it a little bit.
Ooh.
So the question I want you to think about is, what kind of soil is your life like at the moment? What kind of soil is your life like at the moment? Because in this little parable, there are 4 different places that a seed ends up. The first is on a path, and a path doesn't even have any soil, which means it can't sink in. And this is like maybe we've heard about God, we've heard about Jesus, but it hasn't really sunk into our hearts yet. It's just something that we know about, but it's not something that's really taken up in our lives, and it hasn't really sunk in. Maybe that's you. The second type is rocky ground. So this is where there's soil, but there's a lot of rocks and stones and pebbles and stuff around, which means that there's not loads and loads of soil. And so it's it's sunk in, but we're keeping it surface level. We're keeping it skin deep. We haven't let it really come right into the center of who we are. It's something that we believe, it's something that we know, but it's something that we go, I'm not going to let this, a bit like that, a bit like switching the lights on and off that Shona was talking about yesterday. With it sometimes, but not other times. The third kind of seed was the one that got planted in thorny grounds. And so it grows up, and this is where the soil has definitely taken root. We're following Jesus, we're trying to live for him. But then there's these thorns, these other plants that distract us and that choke us and that crowd it out. Maybe that's certain friendships. Maybe that's certain things that we do with our time or certain things that we enjoy. And actually, they end up distracting us from something which is even better than them, which is Jesus. But then there's the final kind of soil that the seed lands in. This is the good soil, the soil with all of the nutrients and the soil that gets all the water. And there we see that it's not just a big, strong, healthy plant, but actually it can end up producing more and more and more, because plants also then produce more seeds. and those seeds can produce more plants. And so when we're in good soil and when we receive and respond to Jesus well, then we have a chance to bless other people with it, which is also what Shona was talking about yesterday. So those four, the path, the rocky soil, the thorny soil, and the good soil. What kind of soil is your life like at the minute?
Interesting question. I actually think I'm going to need a bit of time to think about that. Thank you very much, Dave. I know what soil I want to be.
Yeah, me too.
But sometimes that's not the soil that we always are. So thank you for reminding us of that this morning. Well, I hope that you have a great day, afternoon, evening, depending on when you're listening to this podcast. And we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.